Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Locker Room. This is Brian Grissom coming to you live and in color from Cleveland State Community College. I'm joined today with our men's coach, Coach Lee Sigliano. And, Coach, I tell you what, a couple of big conference games this weekend, one up, one down. We suffered our first setback of the season on Saturday afternoon. We'll talk about that in a minute. Well, let's first of all, let's talk about Friday night. Two big games back to back like we had, and this is our first conference home games. So it's good to get the weekend off on a big win over Jackson State. Final score 103-75 in that ball game.
That was a good win. Jackson's got a good team, Brian. They run undefeated going into that game overall and in the conference, and they have some good players.
Oh, yeah.
And Jackson, they have a lot of the West Tennessee players that Coach Hines recruits from, Memphis and Arkansas in that area. And they had some quality players and a good team. And the score really wasn't indicative of how close the game really was. There were some technical fouls in the second half, which stretched the lead out, and the game kind of got out of hand at that point. Right. But it was really more of a hard-fought battle, close battle, and having to go over there next semester will be a very difficult game for us.
Oh, yeah. A very well-coached team. I watch coaches from my perch along the desk there and watch how they operate. The Jackson State coach, he knows what he's doing, and it makes adjustments a lot.
He's a very good coach.
Yeah.
He's been there a long time, and he knows how to put a team together and recruiting, and he knows how to, when he gets them in there, he knows how to coach them and put them in the right positions.
Right.
And they usually know how to share the ball, and they've got a purpose on defense too in what they're doing. They're very well coached.
We started out with a hot hand in the Jackson game, and just kind of build our lead continuously a little bit as we went along. Do you remember the halftime score? I don't have it in front of me here.
I think the halftime score was 48-38 in that game.
Right.
Yeah.
That 10-point lead against a good team, you'll take that any day of the week, won't you?
Well, we will. We hit a 3, I think, right before the halftime buzzer that stretched it from 7 to 10, which was a big basket for us.
They had just made a run. Yeah.
Right, and so that was big for us to get it to 10. And then we came out second half, and I think we got the lead up to 14-16, and that's when the technicals occurred.
Let's talk about the opening minutes of the second half. We talked about this, over the years. It is extremely important, and it can be the difference in the ball game, whether you get off to a slow start in the second half or a fast start, can't it?
It's just a matter of a couple of possessions at any point of a game, and certainly the beginning of the second half, the first 5 minutes, if you will, as coaches like to say, are very important. I mean, if you come out of there and you're focused, you're ready to play on both ends, play hard on both ends, then you can get into the game, get your feet into the game, get your teeth into the game, so to speak, and be ready to battle. But if you come out with any kind of lackadaisical demeanor or disposition, then the gates can open and the team can jump on you quick.
Hey, in this league, you can be down by 10 in a heartbeat if you're not ready to play, can't you?
No question about it. No question.
That's it. And so we go on. We build a double-digit lead to start the second half, and then of course Jackson's going to make a run, and they got in a little bit of foul trouble, and then so the games are always rough and hard-nosed. But then it got just a little out of hand, and we got a couple of technicals, and I've kind of felt like that it maybe took the air out of Jackson just a little bit.
Well, I haven't really watched that part of the game in reviewing it. I don't know who instigated exactly. I know that one of our players kind of lost his control, and one of their players did, in the double technical, and then fortunately they had 2 more technicals caught on them, which you hate to see a game change that way when it's really been a hard-fought battle, but it was in our favor at that point. Yeah. And they really had one inside player that was a big scoring option for them. Otherwise, they were really guard-oriented on their team, but they were very good guards.
Oh, yeah.
And we got the lead after the technicals. We got the lead to 22, but then they cut it to 11 with 4 minutes, and anything could have happened at that point.
Right.
But we, fortunately, I think Stetson at that point, Stetson Moore hit a 3 that jumped the lead back up to 14, and then at that point we were okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of guys, and something that's been kind of a theme for the guys thus far in the season, teamwork. It doesn't matter who's in there, they get the job done, and that's what happened Friday.
For the most part, we've had a lot of contributions from different people, and we go in there, and we've been hustling for the most part, and there's been really good effort for the most part from the 12 or 13 guys that we play each night. And that particular night, we got, I think 12 guys played, maybe 13, but I think 12 played of the 13 that dressed, and all of them contributed.
Yeah. And it's just different points in the game, and it's really fun to watch a team come together like that. And so we weathered the storm. They cut it to 11, and then we finished out with the big win. And then we move on to Saturday. And I'm going to ask you a question that I asked Dan just a minute ago. Big win, big loss. How well do you sleep on Friday night?
You know, I don't really sleep well. I really don't, especially on a Friday, Saturday.
Yeah.
You know, I'm keyed up whether we win or lose, and you know, and I was already thinking about the next game because I guess it's good you get these two conference games out of the way. You don't stretch the season out, but I mean, it's like you have to play Friday, Saturday. You can't enjoy win very long. And then if you lose, you do get a chance to kind of redeem yourself on a Saturday game. But you know, I was already thinking about Columbia State, and they were. You know, I knew they were undefeated, and they had beaten some quality teams, so I knew we were going to have our hands full going into that game.
Second day in a row, undefeated conference play, two teams undefeated. Something had to give. Jackson, we handed them their first loss on Friday night. Okay, now, so Saturday we come back. Well, okay, one other follow-up question to that. What do you tell the guys on a Friday night leading into with the Saturday game to go?
Well, you know, you try to tell them what you think is the right thing for them to hear, and that is, you know, get some rest, don't stay out late. You got another game tomorrow. It's in a conference game. We got something good going. Let's be focused, and you know, those are all nice sounding things, you know, but you're dealing with 18 to 22-year-olds. You know, their thoughts and my thoughts are usually going to be a little different, but they, you know. I think they knew that we were going to be playing a good team, but you know, it's hard to play on a Friday to Saturday, whether you're at home or away, against a good team.
Right, mentally and physically both. I imagine sometimes it's harder mentally for the players to get ready.
It's hard for coaches mentally to get ready for the game. So I know it's got to be hard for them too.
Right, absolutely. All right, let's talk about Columbia State a little bit. On Saturday afternoon, we come out. We are playing hard, but we're having a terrible time getting the ball in the basket to start the ball game.
Well, I didn't think we really took care of the basketball very well the first half, and you know, we took some quick shots too in the first half, and weren't. I mean, they had some length, but I felt like with a couple reverses of the ball on offense, you know, with some strong drives or you know feeding the post, that we could get the ball inside against this team. It didn't work out the first half, whether that was because of their length or you know, and I know they got some steals and converted them to easy layups. You know, all that contributed together for us to be down 12 at the half. And but I think overall we weren't sharp in making hard basket cuts and taking care of the basketball and getting better shots than what we got.
Just glancing at the stat sheet here, you know, sometimes stat sheet tells the story, sometimes it doesn't. We shot 37% in the first half, and Columbia shot 56% in the first half, and a lot of theirs were down inside.
Yeah, well, a lot of it. I don't know how many points they got off of our turnovers, but I would imagine it was in double digits. I mean, and those are layups. They got layups, and I think one time we missed a wide open layup. We drove to the basket, missed a point blank layup, and in transition D, we gave up an open three to their best shooter, and he happened to be four. You know,
he doesn't miss.
He you know, he took 4 3-point attempts and he made all 4 of them that day. You know, and that, you know, you have shooters, great shooters. You have to guard them, and I'm a coach that likes to be no help, and there were a couple times we had some lapses mentally on how to guard him and stay on him, and he made us pay.
He did. He hit 3 in the first half. We did a good job of guarding him in the second half, and the one time that we left him open, it was
transition, and you know, and those things are going to happen. You're mentally not always going to be cued in to what you need to be doing, but you know, when you're playing teams that have a great shooter, you've got to be no help. You got to stay on those guys.
We were down 38-26 at halftime. I felt it could have been worse, so you know.
No doubt. I was glad it was only 12.
Absolutely. I told the guys at the table. I said, "Well, could have been worse, boys."
Could have been 22, and you know, I would have been scratching my head more.
All right. So now we go in the locker room, we make adjustments, we come out, we play much better in the second half.
All right. I thought we had more energy, more focus. I thought we moved the ball a little bit better offensively. Still wasn't great, but we moved the ball better, got to the basket more. And I mean, we battled, and that's, you know, to this point, that's what we've been doing all year. We've been hustling and playing hard, and we got back in the game. We tied it up.
Absolutely.
And
comes down to one possession, and You could see it coming. Yeah, I could see it coming that this is going to go right down to the wire. We tie it up, get a big shot, tie it up, and then we have the ball. All right.
Yeah.
So a few seconds left, and now take me through that last scenario.
Well, the game clock I think was 46 seconds, and there was the 35-second shot clock, and we only had one timeout left. I decided to go ahead and not call the last timeout and save it, if you will, used for lack of a better way of saying that, save it. Well, we go into our 4-out, and we get the ball inside, and if you remember, and Ethan's made some shots this year, but Ethan was right there, point blank, in the paint, both feet in the paint, off the glass. He missed it.
Rolled off the rim.
But we get the rebound, and Kevin, you know, I thought when he first got the rebound that he might be able to go straight up with it. You know, in hindsight, I might have called a timeout, but he still was in the paint. He just had arms all, you know, bodies on him, and you know, he just didn't. He was off balance when he shot it, and they got the rebound. But you know, I mean, you had two shots in the paint.
That's all you can ask for.
I mean, I don't think I could have diagrammed a play any better to get the ball in the paint during the timeout. So I don't. You do think as a coach what you could have done the last minute. I probably scratch my head more and think about what I could have done more when they had the ball with 20 seconds. But I didn't want to leave the shooter open. I hate to double team somebody and leave another guy with a lane to the basket. Zoning, again, was going to leave a shooter open. I just decided to guard straight man-to-man. I thought we had our best defender on their best penetrator, which is their point guard, Pride. And he's a good player, and give him credit. He's crafty with the ball, and he got the ball in the paint. He made a tough shot, and, you know, that was the game.
Then sometimes they drop, and sometimes they don't.
That's right. We didn't get to go overtime, but you know, I was appreciative of our team for fighting back and tying the game. We could have quit. And we didn't, and we fought back.
Sure did. Very quickly, got about 30 seconds to go here. Let's talk about a tough road weekend coming up. Got to go to Motlow Friday night and then volunteer on Saturday.
They're all tough. I mean, Motlow's got they're 1-6, but I've watched them on film. They're a very talented team. They're getting better. It will have our hands full to get a win. And the same thing with Vol. They're a talented athletic team. It'll be two tough games. I hope that we can be competitive. I think that we will. Hopefully it'll be good enough to get 2 wins.
Good deal. Good luck this weekend, Coach. Appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you.
That's it for this edition of Inside the Locker Room. If you have a chance, come out, and we've got one more home game left before the end of the first semester, December the 7th. Chattanooga State. That'll be a good one to see. Always a good one. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is Brian Grissom saying good night and God bless everybody. Good day, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Inside the Locker Room. My name is Brian Grissom. I'm the Sports Information Director here at Cleveland State Community College, and once again, we're joined by the ladies basketball coach, Dan Lumpkin. And Dan, a couple of big games over the weekend, big conference games. We're going to talk about those a little bit in depth, and I tell you what, you know, we held serve at home, didn't we?
Yes, that, you know, very important, these home 2-game weekends. Getting 2 of those this weekend was good. Getting 2 wins in the conference is good at any point. We want to get those definitely at home. Much easier than on the road, that's for sure.
Yes, that's for sure. Well, let's talk about them a little bit in depth. Let's start with Friday night. Jackson State, the Lady Cougars, took a 45-31 halftime lead. All is well. And then then we end up winning 72-70, so we had to hold on for dear life. Let's talk about a little bit about the first half, and then we'll talk about the second half.
Well, the first half against Jackson State on Friday night went well. We felt like we were doing what we needed to do. You know, they play a zone a lot of the time, probably played more than half of the first half in a 1-3-1 zone. We knew that coming in and felt like we were prepared with what we needed to do on offense to combat that. And we were scoring well, we were getting to the free throw line, and we were making free throws and built a 14-point lead, which is a good half. But just like some of the other games we've had recently, we haven't had such good second halves. It's tough to play a good second half when you're up 14. I think the players' mentality changes a little bit. They think they can go on a little bit of cruise control Second half is 20 minutes long, just like the first, and you've got to play well.
Well, and you know, it's human nature. When you walk out of the locker room at halftime, you look up the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Hey, we're up by 14,
Yeah.
you know, and that's human nature. Now, you got to give the coach for Jackson State a little credit. They made adjustments at halftime, and now let's talk about the second half a little bit.
They did. They did a good job coming out in the second half. They got a little bit more aggressive, I felt. They changed up, started playing man a little more, really started going inside hard to the basket, putting us on the defensive a lot more. They had, they got several fouls on us, got to the free throw line a little more for them. One big factor we were looking at with our possession chart, in the second half we had about 40 possessions. And 25 of those were negative, meaning we either turned the ball over, took a shot, did not score, but it was a negative. We didn't score a point or two or three out of 25 of 40 possessions. That leaves only 15 scoring possessions out of 40. And if you're not scoring for half of your possessions, you've at least got to stop the other team from scoring if you're going to trade that. We don't want to trade baskets. But 25 negative possessions in the second half was a huge factor. And we had a lot more turnovers in the second half. Now, I do credit them. Their pressure got better. Their defense did improve. But we didn't take care of the ball like we needed to. And definitely when you look at the possession chart, that's a huge factor in losing that, a 12-point swing where we win by 2 in the second half and we're up by 14. They outscored us by 12 in the second half. We don't want that to happen.
We were talking about some of the stats. Usually, sometimes when there's a big disparity in halves, you can look at the stat sheet and say, well, there it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, it didn't really show up that much until we looked at something else. You're talking about the shots. But now, what do you have? A breakdown of what we shot in the first half, and then?
I don't have the separate halves there, but for the game, 58%, 2 points. 2-point shot, 2-point field goals, 58%, which is okay.
Right, yeah, exactly.
3-point percentage, 37.5%. That's okay. I'm okay with that. As a team, that's good. Wish it were better than that, but we'd be satisfied every night if we shot 37% from the three. And 66, almost 67% from the free throw line. We want that to be a little bit higher, but that's for the game, 22 makes out of 33 attempts is okay from the free throw line. So the statistics were not that bad shooting-wise. That's why we go back to the possession chart and we see the turnovers. That's a huge factor. Or the opportunity to be on the free throw line for a 1-and-1 and miss that front end, or even a 2-shot free throw and miss both of those. Those are huge, especially the turnovers in those possessions in the second half were big. The shooting percentages just weren't that bad for the second half, but taking care of offensive possessions, getting a good possession, either a great shot where we have a high chance of scoring, or just being able to finish at the free throw line, getting fouls on them because we're going aggressively to the basket. And we didn't do a good enough job of that.
And that tests the other team's depth, as you get down the stretch. The thing that kind of stuck out in my mind, you as a coach, you want to use your strengths as a ball team, and the Jackson's strength was in the paint.
Yeah.
And they used their strength in the second half.
Yeah, definitely. They did a good job inside. It's another game that we came down to the end, very close game, had some opportunities late on the free throw line. I look at our last 4 possessions. We were on the free throw line, 3 of those last 4 possessions. But we only made 2 of 6 free throws.
Right.
That's a huge factor. You've got to be able to put the game away on the free throw line, and we had 6 opportunities to put it out of reach for them. So once again, just like the Southwest game, with 8 seconds left in the game, thereabout, we're on defense, 2 points up, and they have the ball, and we have to play perfect defense, keep them from getting a good shot, don't foul and put them on the free throw line, and we don't like to. That's not the controlling part of the game. We like to be controlling that part of the game when we're up, and instead of really, like you say, having to sweat it out, and actually the game ending on a rebound being tipped and kept alive, I guess probably by Jamisha, maybe, and Brittany and the other players on their team as the clock ran out.
And so at this point, we're just going to go to bottom line. We had 72, they had 70, so that's where we're going to leave that one right there.
A win's a win, and we were pleased to get it.
Absolutely. Lady Cougars are now 6-1 overall on the year, 3-1 in conference play. Then we go to Saturday. Quick turnaround. Can't celebrate that one very long because you got to get ready. Tell me your process on a Friday Saturday game. Big win, big loss. How quick do you get over it?
Well, I tell the players, this game is tonight only.
Yeah.
When you wake up in the morning, brand new game. Now, as coaches, we have to do preparation immediately. That game goes aside, and really, you can review things for both teams, but you can only mentally really get ready for one game at a time, and that's how we approach it. I don't want to discuss other personnel, other players with the team that we play on Saturday before Friday night game. Nothing about it. Now, I'm looking at and reviewing things in my mind for both teams, but I'm focused on the Friday night game. But as soon as that game's over, I put all that stuff aside myself and begin focusing on that. I expect them for that night to, be happy that we got the win. Try to relax after that, get rest for that night, and first thing in the morning, get refocused on the Saturday game. But we have to take them one at a time, and it's difficult to do that sometimes, but it's the only way it can be if you're going to be successful, I think.
Do you sleep well on Friday night?
It's difficult. Sometimes I do, sometimes I do not. Sometimes I do not. My mind's racing. Sometimes I keep a notebook near me, and when things come to mind, I just have to get up and start making notes and write it till there's nothing left and try to sit back down and go back to sleep.
I've got to get some sleep, but I can't do it.
That does happen. I mean, because your mind just doesn't slow down. It's hard to just compartmentalize what's going on that night, what's got to go on the next day to try to be successful.
All right, let's move on to Saturday. Columbia State comes in. We get a 65-54 win, and I felt we kind of controlled the tempo of that game.
I felt we did as well. The first half was closer. I think it was only a 5-point half, like 20. We were up 26-21, I believe, at the half.
Yes.
And felt they did a pretty good job the second half. They had a tough game, just like we did the night before. They had a tough game down at Chattanooga State, and
they had some big girls in the middle.
Felt like it was a little slow getting started. Most of our, if we look at our possession chart, most of our negative possessions happened in the first half in that game, and we did a much better job in the second half, getting positive possessions, scoring in the second half. Where I felt we were able to stretch it out. I feel like we didn't get enough opportunities probably to go in the full court, pressure in the full court like we like to do, to be able to stretch it out early on. And a lot of that depends upon how well you're controlling your offensive end of the floor to be able to score so you can get into a defensive possession full court or get to the free throw line at the very least, stopping it, or with dead balls, so we can get into full court pressure. And I think we've got to do a better job of that if we're going to be able to control play.
Columbia State, a good ball team. They had the advantage on us in the paint down there as well with a couple of big girls. And I was looking at the shooting percentages, 42% in the first half. That's not too bad. We held them to 32%, which is, and it was just a 26-21 lead at halftime. And then I look at 44 for the game. That's not too bad. The glaring statistic, I think, is 3 for 16 on three-point shots.
That and the free throw percentage for the game. When you look at both of those, 3 for 16 for 3 is not what we want. That's below 20%. And if you're shooting that, you don't need to be shooting the three-point shot. We should not be shooting it if we're not shooting a better percentage.
And then 6 of 14 from the foul line.
And that's what's so difficult to just think about and try to predict, and you really can't. But we doubled that shooting percentage from 3 the night before. And some of that's due to taking a good shot or not taking a good shot. A lot of it's due to the defensive pressure you're getting. And they did a pretty good job of keeping us from getting good shots. I feel we rushed more of those three-point shots in the second half as well. We didn't set up for them. We were taking threes on the move early in a possession rather than working as a team more to set our shooters up for good shots. And that will always usually that's going to bring your percentage down if you're not working for those. The free throw situation as well, we did not get near as many free throw attempts as we would have liked. Just 14 attempts for the game and only made 6. That's barely 43%. And that's not going to help us win many ball games if we don't have better shooting from the free throw line there.
Very quickly, we've got about a minute to go here. We got a game coming up tonight with Milligan on the road, kind of a tune-up, and then we got a couple of tough. We're hitting the road, Middle Tennessee to Motlow and Volunteer. Talk about those real quick.
Well, we go on the road tonight. It's a long trip up to Johnson City to play, and we hope to work out some of these details and try to get better tonight as we play leading into the weekend games. Like I said, I don't like to look too much forward, but yes, we go on the road to Motlow and Volunteer State for 2 conference games again, Friday and Saturday. We expect tough play. Both of them are going to be very competitive. We're going to have to play well to have a chance to get one and hope to go on the road and get 2. That's our goal, to get 2 on the road this weekend. to try to stay where we want to be in conference play.
Fantastic. Well, good luck this
All right,
weekend, Coach.
thank you.
Appreciate you stopping by. That'll do it for this edition of Inside the Locker Room. My name is Brian Grissom. Good night and God bless everybody.